Hi, my name is Jeanette and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So today I'm going to talk about some of my favorite long series. So there's a couple booktubers, Krista from Books and Jams and Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand, that are doing a series September, and they created a bingo board that you can fill out with, I think it's 9 prompts on it, might be 8 prompts with a free space, I don't remember, to work your way through some series. I am not taking part in it this month for a couple reasons. One, when I did my September TBR wheel, I only got 1 series book on my TBR, which is shocking. And 2, I read a ton of series already, so I don't really need to focus on my series reading so much. Or I'm not ready to focus on some series because I don't have the books or something like that. So far this year, I have read 68 books, and 40 of those 68 have been a part of a series. When I look back at 2021, I read 75 books, and 70% of those books were part of a series. When I go back even further on my Goodreads and look at all the books I've read since 2012, I have 867 books, and 65% of those are part of a series. I read a ton of series, so that is why I've decided not to take part in it this month. But I thought for a video in September, let's talk about some of my favorite series, but long series. So I'm talking about any series that I've read and really enjoyed and that I would totally reread that have more than 4 books. A lot of series that I read have 3 or 4 books, so I thought let's focus on the longer ones. So I'm going to talk about them from the shortest, it has 5 books, up to my longest series. And I'm not going to tell you how many books are in that series until we get to talking about that series. So the very first series I'm going to talk about is by Dani Pettrey, and it is the Alaskan Courage series. Most of my books, I should have mentioned this before, most of my books that I have are on Kindle, so we'll have to insert pictures here. I do have a few physical, but majority are on my Kindle. So the Alaskan Courage series was my introduction to Dani Pettrey's writing. I read the complete series back to back in 2 months in early 2019. So it includes 5 books. Submerged is book number 1. Shattered is book number 2. Stranded is book number 3. Silenced is book number 4. And Sabotaged is book number 5. Now this is the only one that I have in physical copy. I picked it up at a clearance at my brother's store. And so when I got this one, I had to get the rest of them because I couldn't read this one without reading 1 to 4 first, right? So that is why I have this one in physical and then the rest are my Kindle. It is a romance suspense series that features the McKenna siblings as they encounter danger in the Alaskan wilderness. Each story is filled with suspense, danger, romance, and faith. While I enjoyed the whole series, my favorite book was definitely number 2, Shattered. It featured Piper McKenna trying to prove that her brother Reef is innocent in the crime he's being arrested for, and Deputy Lance, who is being pressured to close the case now that they've made an arrest. Piper and Lance must work together to find the truth of what happened, and quickly. I fell in love with the characters of Piper and Lance when they were introduced in book 1, and immediately started book 2 when I closed book 1, knowing that these 2 were the main characters. I could not put the book down. As I said, I read the whole series back to back over the course of 2 months. I loved this series, and it made me pick up more by Dani Pettrey. So then the next series is Montana Rescue by Susan May Warren. This has 6 books and 2 novellas. It is a romantic suspense. The books, it has a prequel, If Ever I Would Leave You. And then book number 1 is Wild Montana Skies. Book number 2 is Rescue Me. Book number 3 is A Matter of Trust. Book number 4 is Troubled Waters. Book number 5 is Stormfront. And book number 6 is Wait for Me. And then there's another novella called Crossfire, which comes between books 4 and book 5. This series revolves around members of a search and rescue team, and the books follow their various experiences while responding to SOS calls and their individual journeys of finding themselves and romance along the way. There is one main storyline that carries the whole way through the series, but each individual book has its own primary story as well. These books are packed with adventure and suspense. There are approximately 12 main characters throughout the course of the series, some that I cared about more than others. Early in the series, there were 2 characters that I was really drawn to, and by the end of the series, I was very happy with where their storyline ended. This is a series that I read as each book was released, so over the course of fall 2016 to fall 2018. And I patiently waited for the next one to come out, and the next one to come out. And I kind of think it was during this time I decided, I'm not doing this to myself. I think this was when I decided that, no, I'm going to be patient and wait and read them all together. Because I forgot a lot of the details. Now, that hasn't always stuck true because I have read and not waited for the next one to be released. Until I read, so then the next series I have to talk about is a contemporary romance. It's also by Susan May Warren, and it is The Christensen Family. There are 7 books and 2 novellas. There is a prequel that introduces you to the series called I Really Do Miss Your Smile. Then book number 1 is Take a Chance on Me. Book number 2 is It Had to Be You. Book number 3 is When I Fell in Love. Book number 4 is Always on My Mind. Book number 5 is The Wonder of You. Book number 6 is You're the One I Want. And book number 7 is Have Yourself a Christensen Christmas. And then there is another novella, Evergreen, which is considered 3.5, so between book 3 and book 4. This series revolves around the 6 Christensen siblings as they navigate real life and their faith. The first 6 feature one of the siblings as the main character. The 2 novellas focus on the parents. The prequel is offered as a free download from the author's website, so I will link the website below, and shares their love story, the parents' love story. The second novella is placed in the middle of the series and features the parents entering a new season of life as empty nesters. I really enjoyed getting to know each of these characters and reading their stories. I loved how the books carried forward in timeline, and majority of the characters appear in all the books. My favorite of the series was book number 2, When I Fall in Love. It features Eden and Jace. They both just captured my heart. Eden is her younger brother's cheerleader in his hockey career, but also his conscience. Jace is a hockey player himself that could either have a positive or negative influence on Owen. I loved the message that you can't judge someone based on outward appearances and rumors. This series released between 2014 and 2016, but just last November 2021, book number 7 was released. And on the author's site, the summary says, "It is Christmas in the winter wonderland town of Deep Haven, and the Christensen kids are all headed home for the holidays, but no one's feeling merry. The trip home for all is filled with secrets, memories, and old dreams. But when they discover the real reason they've been asked home for the holidays, it will shake their world. It'll take a disaster for them to discover that home is a place for answers, hope, and most of all, miracles. I'll admit I'm a little scared to read this and discover that not all is well with the characters since I last left them. However, I also know that Miss Warren is able to find good during the tough times, and I really enjoyed these characters, so it is on my to-be-read list. I just don't own it yet. So the next series is also a contemporary romance, and it is by Irene Hannon, and it is her Hope Harbor series. There are currently 8 books out in the series, and book 9 is set to release in April 2023. It is set in the fictional town of Hope Harbor, Oregon, and book number 1 is Hope Harbor. Book number 2 is Sea Rose Lane. Book number 3 is Sandpiper Cove. Book number 4 is Pelican Point. Book number 5 is Driftwood Bay. Book number 6 is Starfish Pier. Book number 7 is Blackberry Beach. Book number 8 is Sea Glass Cottage. So I am working on collecting this series. Each book features 2 main characters. Each character has events from their past that have shaped who they are today and how it affects them and how they respond to others around them now. Each story is filled with positive character growth, a lovely romance, and a message of faith. Each book features different main characters, and I have heard others say that they could be read as standalones as each story is wrapped up in the book. However, there are recurring characters throughout the series, so of course I recommend reading them in order. Some books have been a hit or miss for me, and I'm quite a bit behind since I've only read up to book number 5. So I have 3 left to read. Plus, obviously, number 9 when it comes out. But I am working on collecting all the books that I am missing so that I can reread the first few before I get to the ones that I have never read. My favorite of the series so far has definitely been Sandpiper Cove. So this one. It features the police chief Lexi and the ex-con Adam working together to keep a young man from falling into a life of crime. Second chances and forgiveness and that change is possible are themes that are very evident in the story. I absolutely loved it. I rated it 5 stars, and I can't wait to reread it. And I'm so excited to have my hands on so many of them because they're so pretty together. Like I love the color scheme. And there they go. So I just need to get books 1 and books 2 in physical so that I can read them all in the nice little covers. No, I'm okay with having them on my Kindle. Okay, so then the next author, or the next book series, this one has 9 books, and it is by Shanna Hatfield. It is the Rodeo Romance. It is a contemporary Western romance series with a Christmas theme. So book number 1 is The Christmas Cowboy. Book number 2 is Wrestling Christmas. Book number 3 is Capturing Christmas. Book number 4 is Barreling Through Christmas. Book number 5 is Chasing Christmas. Book number 6 is Racing Christmas. Book number 7, Keeping Christmas. Book number 8, Roping Christmas. And book number 9, Remembering Christmas. So each book is themed around a character with some connection to the rodeo world. A saddle bronc rider, a steer wrestler, a rodeo clown, etc. and a romantic interest for that character. The characters are from all over the western part of the US, with parts of the story being set in their home area and parts of the story being set at the National Rodeo Convention in Las Vegas each December. Characters are repeated and intertwined in each book, as some are good friends with one another or are acquaintances through rodeo interactions. Each story is filled with cowboys, faith, family, humor, and love. I just absolutely love Shanna's humor. For the last 9 years, a new book has been released each October-November, just in time for Christmas season. I don't know if she has a 10th book planned for this upcoming Christmas season, but I sure hope so. I read this whole series last fall when book number 9 was released. I have now read the first few books 3 times, others twice, and the last one just once. I was thinking about reading it around Christmas this year again, but when I realized I just read it last year, I think I'll pick up another one of her Christmas series instead. So then the next series is also by Shanna Hatfield, but now we're going to historical. That is Pendleton Petticoats. There are 10 books to this series, and it is set in the town of Pendleton, Oregon, at the turn of the century. In book 1, we meet Andy, a stubborn mail-order bride who finds the courage to carry on when she's widowed before ever truly becoming a wife. But opening her heart to love again may be more than she could bear. The rest of the series picks up with other characters in and around the town of Pendleton. Each book features one main female character and the men who capture their hearts. Characters from previous books regularly show up, so once again, this is a series that should be read in order. I really enjoyed being transported to this western town at the turn of the century. I first began this series in 2016 and reread the whole series in May of 2020. So the 10 books are Andy, Katrina, Ilsa, Marnie, Lacey, Birdie, Millie, Dally, Quinn, and Evie. So the next series I'm going to talk about is Squeaky Clean Mysteries by Christy Barritt. There are 16 books in this series, plus 3 novellas. This was the series that introduced me to Christy Barritt. I read this series between 2012 and 2020. I've only reread the first 3 books twice. All the rest I read as they came out. This is a series I would like to reread the whole way through sometime and see if I can pick up stuff that I missed the first time through. So I'm going to quickly list the books that are in the series. Quickly. So number 1 is Hazardous Duty. Number 2 is Suspicious Minds. 2.5, It Came Upon a Midnight Crime. 3, Organized Grime. 4, Dirty Deeds. 5, The Scum of All Fears. 6, To Love, Honor, and Perish. 7, Mucky Streak. 7.5, Well You Were Sweeping. 8, Foul Play. 9, Broom and Gloom. 10, Dust and Obey. 11, Thrill Squeaker. 11.5, Swept Away. 12, Cunning Attractions. 13, Clean Getaway. 14, Clean Sweep. 15, Clean Break. 16, Cleans to an End. So the ones that are 0.5 are the novellas. This series follows Gabby St. Clair and her journey as a crime scene cleaner, getting pulled into various cases, romantic relationships, and her career progression. In book 1, Gabby finds a murder weapon the police missed, and she ends up involved in the case. I loved Gabby and her friends and found myself rooting for particular romantic interests. Each book is a separate mystery, which means you don't particularly need to read them in order to enjoy the case stories. But because of the character development that happens, it is best to read in order to really get to know the main characters. I rated 8 of the books 5 stars and all the rest 4 stars. I loved this series. So the very last series I'm going to talk about is the longest series. And probably the longest series that I've ever read and followed. So it is by Debbie Viguie. Again, not sure if I'm saying her name right. And it is the Psalm 23 Mysteries. Once the series is complete, there is said to be 23 books in the series. At present, there are 18 released. So there's 5 more that are planned to make a total of 23. I think if you know Psalm 23, I think you'll recognize most of these book names, right? You should be able to follow it. So 1, the Lord is my shepherd. 2, I shall not want. 3, lie down in green pastures. 4, beside still waters. 5, restoreth my soul. 6, in the paths of righteousness. 7, for his name's sake. 8, walk through the valley. 9, the shadow of death. 10, I will fear no evil. 11, thou art with me. 12, thy rod and thy staff. 13, comfort me. 14, a table before me. 15, in the presence of mine enemies. 16, anointest my head with oil. 17, my cup runneth over. 18, goodness and mercy. So book 1 opens with Cindy, a church secretary, finding a body in the church sanctuary when she arrives at work one morning. The Jewish rabbi, Jeremiah, from the synagogue next door, hears her scream and comes running. Over the course of the book, the two end up working together with the police in search for answers. How did the body get there? And who killed them? The series continues to follow the group of characters we meet in book 1, with Cindy and or Jeremiah being the primary character. Each book is filled with intrigue, mystery, and murder, along with character relationships. The differences in Cindy and Jeremiah's faith, Christianity, and Judaism are discussed throughout the series, and I have learned quite a bit about Judaism that I never knew. While each book does have its own murder mystery to solve, there are a couple other main storylines that are weaved throughout each book, with little hints or small revelations revealed periodically, with each book ending in a cliffhanger. This is a series that must be read in order to fully understand everything that is going on. I have read the first 11 books twice and discovered things that I missed the first time through. I am anxiously awaiting the last 5 books to be released, as I am now invested in this group of characters and want answers to some of the mysteries. So those are 8 of my favorite longer series books that I would highly recommend binge reading at some point. If you just want to connect with characters, follow them, have some mystery, have some romance, go back in time to a historical setting, these are the ones that I would recommend picking up. Do you have any series that are your favorite that you would think about rereading at some point, or that you would recommend for me to read that maybe I haven't read? I would love to chat in the comments below. Thank you for joining me. Have a good day. Bye.